Welcome, viewers. You're watching the African Nutrition Society podcast. We've been deliberating on school health and nutrition, as you're aware. And I have with me here Ms. Julia Tagwireyi. She is a nutrition expert with over 40 years of experience in public nutrition across Zimbabwe, the Caribbean, and Sub-Saharan Africa. She has been involved in nutrition policy, development, program planning, and advocacy, particularly in the context of food security and nutrition-sensitive agriculture. She's also a member of several influential panels, including the NEPAD Food Security and Nutrition Expert Panel and Zimbabwe's National Food and Nutrition Security Advisory Group. Ms. Tagwireyi has played a pivotal role in promoting traditional African foods as healthier alternatives to processed Western diets, emphasizing the importance of food sovereignty and cultural identity in nutrition strategies. Mom, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you on. Throughout the pre-conference workshop, what has been your impression? I know people have shared success stories, practical approaches to improving school health and nutrition. What do you have to say?
For me, as I mentioned yesterday during one of the sessions, I think we have long neglected the school age, and yet it offers the potential to actually build a good foundation for later on nutrition. As a practicing nutritionist, I realized that we were so focused on the health sector. It's only now when I reflect and I realize the missed opportunity, because school children, you're catching them at a time they are still malleable. You can still, change their thinking. Now, somebody like me, you may even tell me that I'll die if I continue to eat the way I'm eating. I may follow you for about a week or so afterwards. I say, after all, let me die happy. But I think if we can inculcate good nutrition behaviors in young children, then the rest of it is much easier. We have already built a good, strong foundation. So I'm excited that there's an awakening, and hopefully there'll be a stronger national ownership and implementation of school health, nutrition, school feeding programs, anything that keeps the children in school, because school meals have been shown to do that. And we know when kids are not in school, increased teenage pregnancies, the drug situation, which is really a problem across the continent when kids are idle. But at the same time, you improve their educability. They become healthier adults because they learned, even exercise, how to eat, what to eat. And if in the school meal program, we can also begin to reintroduce our traditional foods, because some of our children have lost the taste. They're more into the other, I won't mention the name, but the fast foods. So they're still young enough to acquire those tastes, the jollof rice, traditional vegetables.
Yeah.
That's a good time to start. When somebody's much older, to get them to, if they're used to chicken and chips, it's a bit difficult. Their taste has already changed. So for me, it's a priority age group, actually, if we really want to change the nutrition situation on our continent.
Definitely. And now that you mentioned traditional foods, how do traditional African diets contribute to food security, and also what role do they play in addressing malnutrition in Africa today?
To be honest, I think they could contribute more. But part of the problem is that we don't really don't know them sufficiently. The food systems we discuss, if you discuss with anyone involved in agriculture, the food system that is described is the commercial, where we're growing these cereals. A lot of them are actually not indigenous to us. Our traditional food systems, my hypothesis is that we don't know enough about them. We need to know more. Because to be quite honest, given what has happened globally, we were supposed to have all been wiped out with COVID, wiped out with all these catastrophes.
Right.
I don't know that we sufficiently know what people are eating. People are eating things which we are not counting. And because we're not counting it, it's not part of the national food basket. It doesn't exist.
That's unfortunate.
I think so. And we need to start bringing those things. Maybe their roots, they're eating some wild fruits and vegetables which are not part of the basket that is counted when we assess. That's my view.
Okay.
Because otherwise, how come we are alive? Yes, we have nutrition problems, but there'll be more of us dead. I think we need, our challenges, let's understand our traditional food. What actually are people eating? Maybe some of us has made our traditional villagers a bit ashamed of what they eat. So when you come driving to see them, they start hiding, because they feel you're coming from Accra, you want to see, so-called modern. What is modern? And yet what they're eating is probably more nutrient dense.
Right.
But we've somehow not made it, not fashionable, but, acceptable. So a lot of things and we are in danger of losing some of those foods simply because the demand is not there. Our kids are not being raised to eat, traditional porridges made of millet and the other things. We go for the boxes of cereal and milk.
So more advocacy for traditional food.
There is.
Right. I think that's a good call.
It is. And I think their efforts, in fact, the last presenter, I think Anna talked about an initiative that is actually trying to analyze our foods across the continent to go deeper into the contents. You're going to find at least some that has been analyzed. A lot of them have more nutrients than your lettuce, your cabbage. Right. But you go to any wedding or function, isn't it a coleslaw? And
we will get better.
I hope so.
We'll get better. So in addition to some of these challenges you've shared, what do you think are the key ones that are faced by sub-Saharan African countries in achieving the sustainable development goal of zero hunger by 2030?
No, you can't run away from the fact that, we have people who are poor in terms of not ideas, but in terms of access to what they need to survive. And maybe we have not provided the right kind of support so that they can thrive where they are. But clearly, zero hunger is a nice vision. But getting there is going to require not just Ministry of Agriculture. All these efforts require different sectors
Definitely
coming into play. The education sector you started with is important because what the child learns is what is part of their portfolio in terms of when they grow up, the choices they make, and so on. But at the same time, here I think Ghana and the rest of Africa has adopted the homegrown school feeding program. Which is supposed to, instead of, in the past, the food will come from somewhere, strange food and the children are fed. It's trying to encourage that you eat what is locally. The school meal must contain, if it's an area that eats cassava, why not have cassava on the menu? Because it eats rice and so on. So what that does also is creates a demand. The smallholder farmers that produce at the market.
Opportunities for businesses.
Yes, so the subsistence farming also becomes a livelihood, a much stronger livelihood, source of livelihood, because they have a ready market in the school or even in the hospitals, the hotels. Our hotels, why should somebody come all the way from Greece to eat Greek food? They come here, they want to experiment. Anyone who comes, they're adventurous. Prepare your local foods. Let them. If it's insects, I know in West Africa, I don't have a culture of insects. We eat insects down south.
Definitely. So in that, case, could you discuss the importance of nutrition-sensitive agriculture and how it can be scaled to address both food security and climate resilience in African countries?
Nutrition-sensitive agriculture is a good term, and I was happy when it was introduced, because what it is asking the agricultural sector is, look at the agricultural system or the foods, your agriculture through a nutrition lens. And for us in Africa, there are certain nutrients that we know we are deficient in. Vitamin A, iron, salt. And we know that a more diversified diet will at least ensure that you and I eat a lot more of the micronutrients we need. So we just focus on, yes, we increase productivity of rice and the cereals and the staples, but what about the fruits and the vegetables and so on? So now it means they're working in tandem with the nutritionists to say, okay, these are the nutritional challenges we have. And we know these foods, these crops, have a higher content. Can you, as part of the food basket you're promoting, include, vitamin A-rich foods?
Right.
Yeah. I know here you have incredible mango season.
Mango, yes. We have pawpaws here.
Yes. But sometimes when the season is off, they're not there anymore. These are so rich in vitamin A, but we eat vitamin A on a daily basis. How about processing it, making juice, drying it? Dried mango, it's delicious. For a school child, it can replace these sugary sweets. A dried mango, you're getting vitamin A, you're getting some other nutrients. So we also need to look at the whole value chain, the processing of that food. It's not enough to produce it. Is it available throughout the year? And because we're this seasonality, do we do more processing, drying?
Which also helps a great job.
Exactly. And
so I think that one of the things that have come up is that perhaps our policymakers, governments don't understand the essence of investing in nutrition. So we invest in education, but we forget that the children have to be sound, have to be healthy to be able to school. So once we're able to detail some of these benefits, that show direct gains in terms of providing jobs, money coming back into the system, improving the economy. I think that's something we can tell to policymakers. So in your experience, how have you seen the role of policymakers evolve in prioritizing food security and nutrition in national agendas?
The nutrition sector has had to talk a different language. I'll be honest, when I trained you many years ago, even before you were even thought of, the issue of the notion that you need to advocate and persuade somebody that nutrition is important was never part. It was such an obvious good thing. The world was just waiting for us. But hey, the reality was you have to now package it such that the policymakers can see the advantage of investing in nutrition. And the economic argument seems to hold more sway, especially with Ministers of Finance. When you tell them that nutrition is fundamental to human capital development, the first 2 years of life is when the total number of your brain cells are actually formed. If you're malnourished in those first 2 years, you can't add. They can't grow at any other time.
And so you're still developing.
Yes, and you don't know whether this child is going to be the future brilliant broadcaster, Minister of Finance, but if already they're starting with a smaller brain because they were undernourished, you're affecting the human capital you need for Ghana to grow, to develop. You need scientists, you need mathematicians, but if they have not grown properly because the brain didn't grow because they were malnourished, and if you start now telling them that when you invest in nutrition and you have a healthy, well-nourished body, it means you're not so sickly. When your child is sick, even if you come to work, every so often you're calling whoever is looking, is she okay? And that your productivity goes down.
Definitely.
But that child may be sick with an underlying malnutrition problem. So it actually, they've done work, they've done this work called the cost of hunger study, which actually show what you lose by the cost of not being well nourished. For example, with anemia, the level of anemia we have in women, even in men, on the contrary, women it's more, is affecting productivity in adults. So now we want to grow, want to be middle income, high income countries. But the tools we have are the people, the human capital. If they are sickly, they are not well nourished, they can't produce optimally.
Definitely.
So we have to now turn the nutrition story and say you are actually investing in having a well nourished adult. And the investment in you started when you were young. You know now the link between undernutrition in early childhood to later onset of NCDs. There's now a link.
Right.
So now in investing in making sure we don't have stunted children, we are probably investing in less people with diabetes, with other
Chronic
components, which are more costly for us. We can't treat it. We can't treat them. And it's costly because if I pop off and die, maybe I'm still doing something very important. And so on. So
right.
It's an investment in human capital. And that's something, and we need to keep making that argument. Because politicians come and go.
You have to keep pushing the agenda. Well said then. So what do you think are the strategies that governments and local communities can adopt to reduce dependence on imported foods and also encourage the consumption of nutrient-rich indigenous foods?
It starts with us. I think we really need to take more pride in who we are. Because food, I'm a diehard nutritionist, and I know food is about nutrients, but food is also culture. It's an identity. It's who you are. You know, when you say Ghana, for me, when I was coming here, because my family is also very much linked with Ghana friends, the first thing I said, please bring us some shito. So, okay, Ghana has certain things, foods they're known, and you should take pride in that, which means that at the community level, you're not just looking to Accra or the towns to bring you the food. You take pride in what is growing here. You go back to your roots. Some of the diseases we now have, our grandparents didn't have them. They had a totally different lifestyle. Of course, they were more active. They worked, but they had access to other foods. Let's bring out that pride in our own traditional foods. Let's start at the community level. Let's share the knowledge we have. And the onus is on the so-called educated elites, whether we know it or not, but you set the trend. What you take home when you're visiting your village says a lot. You don't have to talk. You bring your packet of, I was about to say the name of the very sugary fizzy drink, but you take that, you are saying to your grandma, this is a thing. But if when you go there, you say, Grandma, have you prepared, I don't know what traditional, we have a mahewu, a fermented drink you make with small grain. And you're going to ask her for that. She says, oh, so the people in the town like this, so they eat it. It kind of brings a sense of, okay, I'm doing all. But now when you bring these over-processed foods, when you visit them, they think that's the modern way. After all, they send you to school to be a graduate, so you can tell them anything. They feel, oh, our goddess has come to tell us, but you're bringing them the wrong food habits. So let's take pride. We are losing a lot of the indigenous knowledge. The foods we used to eat, even the wild vegetables we used to have,
and the herbs,
and so on. So the answer is with us. We have looked outside for too long. And funny enough, what's happening, some of the good things we are having, like baobab, the moringa, is being exported. You know, Europe and the developed world have seen the value of some of these things. You can buy baobab powder and moringa in the UK, it's being exported.
Right.
And some of them don't even know about it, and yet a lot of micronutrients are in there.
So thank you so much for the reminders.
Yes.
So we have so much people, we have so much indigenous foods. Let's explore them. Let's use them in our cooking, in our snacks, in between our meals. There's a lot. So thank you so much, Mom, for the insights that you have shared with us today. This has been the African Nutrition Society podcast. My name is Helena. We've been discussing school health and nutrition, practical ways to feeding our children, and we've talked about indigenous foods as well, making good use of them. If you have any questions, you can put them in our chat and we'll get back to you. See you another time. And many thanks to our sponsors. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I don't know what we talked about.